Help us understand this other move where the nature is concrete and not abstract.
Yeah, the difficulty with this move is that if you think about ousia concretely, it almost becomes a synonym with hypostasis. If an ousia is a concrete instance of a nature, well, that's exactly how they define hypostasis in the tradition, a concrete instance of a particular kind of nature, namely a rational nature, if you want to translate hypostasis as person. So you have one ousia, one concrete nature, and three subsistent instances of that concrete nature. Well, I mean, this is basically saying that you have one thing and three things at the same time, because ousia interpreted concretely, like I said, is synonymous with hypostasis. You know, the primary substance for Aristotle, the concrete existing thing, is exactly an hypostasis in, you know, this later language, a concrete existing thing of a certain nature. And you find this dialectic in John of Damascus. If you read, for example, John of Damascus's treatise on heresies, he goes through all the heresies that he can think of. You know, some of them are even invented. And by the end, he has a discussion about the Trinity. And he says very nicely at the end of the whole discussion, do not ask how the Trinity is Trinity, for the Trinity is inscrutable. Well, that's because of the way that he defines his terms. He eventually ends up saying that the Trinity is a single divine nature in three concrete instances. But he means a single concrete nature in three instances. Well, how do you have that? Because an instance is exactly a concrete nature. And then he says, you know, don't ask how the Trinity is Trinity, for the Trinity is inscrutable. This, I think, is where the more classical understanding of the Trinity that you find in John of Damascus and his predecessors, I think most of them are probably trying to say this, that you have a single concrete nature that subsists in three instances, but that doesn't make any sense.
Because
I do think for that reason, it's all the more compelling that effectively, if you follow his definitions, you end up with the notion of the Trinity as three things in one thing.